In this lesson we will be doing a lot of style modifications to the VS Code look. And for that we're fully going to use custom UI style extension and its ability to override element styles. We have already added one override related to styles in a previous lesson, which shifts title to the right by the 60 pixels. And now we're gonna follow the same approach and override a few more styles. But if we're gonna add overrides one by one and save configuration file every time after each modification, we're gonna have to reload VS Code every time. So firstly, I'm gonna add all necessary overrides that I wanna do, and at the end of this lesson we'll restart VS Code and see the result. Alright, let's get going. Sometimes there is a little block that appears at the bottom right corner of the screen, and this window has shadow. I prefer to get rid of that shadow, and that is why I'm adding this override in here. Next, command palette box also has shadow, so I will apply the following modification, which is going to get rid of that shadow around command palette. Then I'm going to move this command palette down to position it almost in the middle of the screen. Next one, I'm going to hide the scroll bar inside this command palette. Then there is this empty space to the right of this input box. I'm going to remove this empty space by applying the next configuration. Also, I would like to remove the shadow around this search box. This one. So the next override will allow us to do so. And at the same time, I'm also going to round corners of this search box. The next modification is mainly relevant to VS Code New Vim extension. It just changes the background color of the title of the search that appears when we press /. But that search box is only going to be open when we use VS Code New Vim extension. Then to get rid of the border at the bottom of that title bar, I'm applying the next override. If we're gonna scroll inside the file explorer, the title also contains slight shadow at the bottom, and by applying the next override, I am removing this shadow. I will apply the next override just to remove left padding of this title inside the sidebar. There is also slightly visible sidebar left border that I also prefer to hide. Let's do so by applying the next modification. And usually when we move our focus to the sidebar, sometimes there is an outline that appears around the sidebar, like in this case. So to remove this outline, I'm going to add another rule. Same goes with an outline of individual list items, because as you can see they also contain outline. By applying the next override, this outline will be removed. And when we're gonna scroll the open file, there will be a slight shadow at the bottom of the title bar. I will remove this shadow by applying the next override. At the top right of the interface you may notice this icon of the drop-down. I don't use that drop-down, so I'm going to remove this icon by applying the next override. The next override is going to center the text inside the title bar at the top. Moving on to the next override. If for example I'm going to make some errors inside the file, we're gonna notice that there will be an error counter inside the title, so by applying the next override, I'm going to remove right margin of this number. And that's about it as for all these overrides. So now to apply all those modifications at once, I'm going to restart VS Code. But before that, let's just agree with all the confirmations that appear, and on the next VS Code start, we will notice several changes. For example, the title bar inside the sidebar doesn't have left padding. There is also no left border on the sidebar anymore, and there are no shadows around such blocks as search or command palette. And we are also seeing that the title is now centered at the top. And that's about it for this lesson. Let's continue working on the customizations in the next one.